If you've been on YouTube for any amount of time, there's no doubt you've heard of Mr. Beast. He's a big philanthropist, big billionaire, biggest channel in the world, doing God's work. Mr. Beast has always been the idea of a perfect millionaire, giving houses to the homeless, food to the poor, building houses for people in need. I can't thank this guy enough. He's literally cured blindness for blind people, and he's always had his crew right next to him. And right now, we need to focus on one specific member of his crew. Now, Kris Tyson has been one of Mr. Beast's day one, and they've been pretty controversial as a part of the Mr. Beast crew for a little bit now. And if you're unaware why, well, Kris is actually trans. They identify as female now, and they changed their name from Kris Tyson to Kris Tyson, but with a K. Now, like any good friend, Jimmy was always first to bat for Kris and stand up to Kris against a lot of commentary channels, but there's a new situation on the rise that Jimmy just can't defend Kris from. So recently, a video from a channel called Adrox dropped, and it revealed a lot of tea about Kris Tyson, and let's just say, we might as well start calling them Dr. Kris Respect. So in order to understand the full story, we need to first know who this guy Shadman is, and don't worry, I'll just give you the brass tacks on who he is and what he does. So this right here is a popular online artist, or at least they used to be popular, and they were known as Shadman, and Shadman got popular for drawing explicit images of, let's just say, lollipops without the pop in it. Shadman is an artist that likes to draw the forbidden fruit, especially when it comes to minors and situations that minors should never be involved in, and he has no limits when it comes to what he draws, including his own mother. Yes, he drew his own mother in images that you wouldn't want to see your mother in, typically. For those of you wondering what this has to do with Kris, well, it seems that Kris was endorsing Shadman on Twitter specifically for an extremely long time. I think the exact time is about 7 years, and they've even been caught having art from Shadman in their apartment from back when they were living with Mr. Beast. Kris is also being accused of purchasing from Shadman, specifically an image of Keemstar's 7-year-old daughter drawn in Shadman style. You can correct me if I'm wrong about any of my information in the comments, but one thing I'm not wrong about is that Kris has been caught again doing something extremely creepy with an underage fan from back when they were 20 and this fan was 13. Now, if you're wondering why my video probably isn't featuring that many tweets, it's because Kris actually went and deep scrubbed their entire page after a lot of these videos came out about Kris. Now, unfortunately, Shrek was right, and each onion has multiple layers, and this is our next layer. This is a streamer, and I believe their name is Ethan is Online. And it seems that this streamer was actually rushing to the defense to defend the 69 god that we know as Kris Tyson. Now let's take a look at their stream and decide what they had to say about Dr. Kris Respect.
Replied, the twins and feelings. First 2018, the fact that Vilo was 4th, they released.
God, I hate how this is formatted like a commentary video and it feels like it was edited by AI.
If you still think this is a coincidence, the next incident will definitely change your mind. On January 25th, 2019,
It also sounds like it was written by fucking AI.
Shadman posted a picture of a character called Raptalia from the Rising of the
So the synopsis is Ava used to like, stop skipping, no, because the synopsis of the video is Ava used to like Shadman in 2017. I don't need to look at a bunch of his fucking go fucking figure that out. That's gross. Don't watch that fucking dog shit video. So bad. Such an awful, terribly formatted video. Literally the worst video I've seen in a long time.
Now, unfortunately, I do have to censor a majority of these curse words because that's all he's gonna do. He's just gonna curse out how bad the editing is, and apparently that discredits the entire video because it's badly formatted, so clearly none of the allegations must be true. And even if it did, it happened 7 years ago, even though the tweets of it happening currently actually just got taken down. And actually, I noticed that Kris deleted everything on their Twitter, which I did not notice before this. So, seems pretty guilty to me, dude.
Literally just to be like, Mr. Beast's friend 7 years ago had some inappropriate tweets that were a really bad look. You're avoiding the video? That's the whole point. What am I avoiding?
You're avoiding the principle that Kris Tyson is a danger to minors as I currently see it, and that they're not explaining themselves any further, which does mean that they're more than likely guilty, especially after everything's deleted from your Twitter.
What am I avoiding? That's literally the whole video. Didn't like most of the internet at the time fuck with Shadman? Yes. For some reason, yes. He was very popular. It's fucking gross. But Ava's not a fan of him anymore. I'm literally discussing the video, which is so funny. I don't need to see the whole thing. It's bad. It's a bad video.
So you refuse to watch the video that gives you literally the entire story and all the evidence because it wasn't just once 7 years ago, it wasn't just an off joke of supporting Shadman. This has been going on until current day, which is why all the tweets have been deleted. If it was just a one-off incident from 7 years ago, Kris would have deleted the one tweet and not their entire page. So yes, you should watch the full video for the full context that Kris has been doing something fully bad for around 7 years. And even then, that doesn't account for all the other things that Kris has done that came out after this video, because this is a terrible, terrible, terrible situation, and I cannot stress that enough that this is a bad situation. So you should probably watch the full video for the full context before you speak about it, because you sound kinda stupid. I also feel the need to clarify what Kris was accused of doing with the minor. Basically, from all my understandings of the information, because I didn't play a clip from it, Kris was caught inappropriately chatting with said minor, talking about sending certain photos to this minor. It wasn't just a one-off joke while playing Roblox about it, that's what she said. This was a entire conversation. The minor did also come out on Twitter and say that nothing happened between the two, and they would like all the information to stop circulating as they don't believe Kris is anything, which sounds kind of like a victim mentality that victims usually have when they have been preyed upon, because not all victims do end up realizing that they are victims. They're trying to defend Kris, and all we can hope for is that truly nothing did happen between Kris and the other person.
Kris has liked images with underage characters. Bro, you were talking about a not massively popular on YouTube at the time. I'm sorry. 7 years ago. Showing it to me is fucking gross. I don't want to see it. It's irrelevant. That doesn't make it okay. It's not relevant, though.
Let me explain to you why this is relevant. If you're wondering why there's so much censoring, it's because he swears way too often, and also because he keeps saying the Mustache Marauders followers, which I'm not allowed to say on YouTube. Now, this is a Mustache Man follower who is also a known predator that Kris Tyson was promoting and endorsing. Kris Tyson was always marketed as a Christian family man, and they were always supposed to be faithful to their partner, and they were always targeted towards the children. Now, keep in mind, Kris Tyson being unfaithful is one thing, and Kris Tyson being a predator to the same audience that he's projected on is another thing. But when you combine those two things together, you see why it becomes extremely relevant. Not only is Kris technically a cheater in this situation, but he's cheating with the people who are young enough to be in his audience. And he has a reach to these people as well, because people look up to Kris and to Mr. Beast.
But that hasn't happened in 7 years. So, do you want to keep doing like... Do you want to keep acting like Mr. Beast should be canceled forever or something? Or do you want to be a real person and understand that people change over time? Getting one guy a lot tonight is literally just this guy. You should not be apologetic. I'm not apologetic. And now you're literally misgendering Kris. You're spelling it the way she changed it to, but you're misgendering her.
Keep in mind for the longest time that Kris Tyson was going by any all pronouns as far as I'm aware, so I'm pretty sure the misgendering of Kris was not intentional. And also, why are you more concerned with the gender of somebody than the safety of children in this situation? I get that misgendering can be a huge issue, but that's what you choose to focus on out of everything you've just heard today. You care more about Kris was misgendered rather than Kris was talking to underage people. That shows me your priorities aren't exactly where they need to be.
There are people that like Shadman art now. Why don't you go f them?
Yes, there are people that still like Shadman's art, and Kris Tyson is one of them. You would know that had you finished the video. This is not just something back in 2017, this was continuing until now. That's why multiple tweets were deleted.
Why are you trying to like talk about what was going on in 2017? Anyway, they really aren't worth your time. Why are you being defensive? Well, you're just changing the complete conversation because you don't have anything to say.
There is a part of this video where he asks why people aren't canceling Mr. Beast, but they are canceling Kris. I couldn't be bothered to look through that video again to find the exact moment where he said it, because to be honest, his voice is like nails on chalk to me, and I don't want to listen to any more terrible complaints. But the reason that's not happening is because Kris doesn't have a history of supporting someone as terrible as Shadman. Because Shadman has done some of the most degenerate things I can even think of, and I believe they got banned from an entire country for how terrible they are. Do you know how terrible you have to be in any sense of the word, or how big of a predator you need to be to get entirely kicked out of a country? That is nearly unheard of. To be clear, I think Kris Tyson deserves to come out with a statement, and I think a lot of people also have tried to come to the conclusion that Mr. Beast does have to speak on this. I've heard both sides of the argument that Mr. Beast should speak out and that Mr. Beast should not speak out. And personally, I'm in the middle. While Mr. Beast is the person who exposed Kris to a lot of the viewers, it's also not his fault that, Kris did anything that Kris did. But I would think that it would be nice of Mr. Beast to at least come out and say that he doesn't condone Kris's actions, and that if Kris can explain this all away, all the evidence, they definitely should, but I'm pretty sure that they can't because everything is gone now, which means they probably know it's all over, and personally, I have to say I think they're guilty, because why else would you delete literally everything if you had nothing to hide? But that's what's currently going on with Kris Tyson's situation. Obviously, I think it's horrible, and obviously, I don't think Kris should appear in any Mr. Beast videos going forward from this moment, because Kris should honestly not be around children. Anyway, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe if you could. It really helps the channel out, and stay safe out there. Have a good day.